Hi, everyone. I'm Christine Tulley, President and Executive Writing Coach at Defend and Publish, and welcome to episode 77, Buy a University Press Book. In the summer, I try to take a moment to look for university press resources that are new that I might not be aware of. And I really do this for a couple of reasons. One, with the COVID-19 pandemic, I haven't been to physical conferences very often. I have gone to some, but I've noticed that the big conferences that I used to go to that used to have big giant exhibit halls with lots of university presses and lots of books to look at haven't been having those kind of exhibit halls if the conferences happen in person. So that means that's one way that I'm not physically finding books just by chance. I still use the physical library. I'm in the humanities, I'm in writing studies. So I do go to the library, I look for books there, and certainly I can find some books that are near other books. So doing a little bit of that serendipitous finding, right? I look for a book in the library, I see a couple other titles nearby that look interesting. So that's still happening for me. And I know that it happens differently in other disciplines, because some disciplines are not very book heavy or more article heavy. But for those of us that are in book-based disciplines, I do miss having that physical, look and feel of looking at those university press books to buy for my collection, since I do use them for my own research. And so the way that I've kind of gone around figuring out how to know about new university press books and to know things that might be useful for me is that I try to just set a time once or twice a year. Very randomly, this tends to be in the summer. I try to do it at least once in the summer and maybe once in the fall when new lists come out. But I just go look at the 2 or 3 university presses that I am interested in or that I tend to read a lot from. And then I look at their new titles coming out. That's not the only way that I find books, but that's a good, reliable way for me to see books that are still in the kind of line of inquiry that I'm working in. I also try to think with university presses is that I need books for different reasons. Sometimes I need them, and this comes back to my episode that I did about thinking about the function of your source. I'll link to it in the show notes. But this comes back to thinking about why I need a source, and this would hold true for books as well. Sometimes I just want to read academic books for pleasure. I'm just interested in the concept. So I know that there was one that was about Cuban radio that I heard about that sounded really interesting from another university press. It's not even a press I normally read, but I just thought it sounded really interesting. So that's something that I'll probably go look up as a fun university book to read, not for a particular project. Also, I look for books that can support for writing. So these might be more professional development type of books, from university presses or from academic presses, and I might be looking for those for specific reasons. So I know I might work on this ethnography project with a colleague, and there's a resource that is out on writing ethnographic field notes. I'm pretty sure this one is from University of Chicago Press. So that's something that I'll look up and probably get my hands on and order. And then I also look for ones that are in my area of writing. So, faculty writing studies, which is the area that I'm in, there's not a lot of books out there about the study of faculty writing. There's some about how to do faculty writing. So I know for me, I'm always on the lookout for anybody that's got some new work out. And that's kind of the way I do it. I might look at university press and faculty writing and do some Googling. I might go to the websites themselves by presses I look at. But for those of us in the humanities, I think maybe a third thing in a larger picture would be for those of us that like to publish in university presses, the way they're going to stay alive is if we're actually buying their books. So another thing that I try to do is when I find books, and I usually find at least 1 or 2 per year, sometimes more than that, I do try to buy them from the actual university press website versus through Amazon or a secondhand place or something like that, just choosing to support the presses in that way. So this is a time, I think, if you have a break, if you're slowing down a little bit in the summer, hopefully you're not doing a whole lot of summer teaching. This for those of you that are hearing this episode when it'll be released. But if you've got the time to look around, I think, even just stopping to do this once a year, I think it's a good way to get acclimated to some new resources are out there. I know a lot of us have not been in our physical offices, and I've noticed that getting all those little mailers and flyers that say, hey, University of Colorado imprint, these are all the new books we're having. You're not getting as many of those physical materials. And I know for me, I've probably unsubscribed to some of those things that are coming virtually in email. So I just like to kind of keep the pulse on new books that are coming out. I don't try to know what's happening with every single university press, but just checking on, the 5 or so that I've, regularly bought books from, that's been very helpful to me. Another thing that I think that we can be doing when we're thinking about buying some of these books is if we know our colleagues are writing them, is to tweet about them and post about them on LinkedIn and support their scholarship in that way, because nobody's picking these books up at exhibit halls when conferences are canceled or we're not getting the mailers. The word of getting your university press book out a lot of times falls to the author. So I know that we've done some episodes on making your own PR. If you're somebody that has a recently released book, I'll put a link to the show note or in the show notes to that episode as well about doing your own PR. But, if you want to get your word out too, this is the way that this might happen. So I just started thinking about our university presses as our episode topic for today. And of course, if you have ideas about how you go about searching for university press works, if you're somebody that is in a field where books are the currency, please share with that on Twitter. If you want to follow us, we're at defend_publish. We'd love to see some other ways that people are doing that. Happy writing this week.